I work two jobs here, and the bulk of the students I work with are either internationals or freshmen. And if memory serves me correctly, our freshman enrollment is actually up this year, and international, not surprisingly, are down. So I'm wondering what thoughts you have on how we can build on the increase in freshmen as we move ahead, and what we can do to reclaim some of the talent we brought in from other countries who do so much to enrich us.
So, just as a factual matter, you're 100% correct.
Well, I take it back. I read it on MLive.
Yeah, no. Oh, well, that is. Yes, our entering class was one of the biggest we've had in years in terms of new admits. And a big chunk of those were out of state. That is partially a reaction to the fact that we changed the out-of-state tuition rate, made us much more competitive. We have gotten a good share of domestic out-of-state residents this year. We're hoping that will continue because we adopted the policy really late in the game, and so that we hope will continue. A good chunk of the new people came from the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois continues to be in disarray. So depending on your public policy vision of the world, you might want to keep them in disarray because that means that their students are leaving. But at some point, it may also suggest they'll get their act together and things will change in Illinois. But we have to compete. So. One, we need to do more because the number of 18-year-olds to 22-year-olds coming out of state Michigan is going to go down and down and down. It's not my prediction; it's a demographic fact and trend, and so the state is shrinking, and that college-eligible population is getting smaller. So we have to think about out of state. Is one of the groups, and then the second group is international. We had a lot of panic because the number of out-of-state applications had been down appreciably. I think we had a meeting of presidents from across the state at the end of August, before students had shown up, and every one of them, with the exception of the University of Michigan, said their applications were off at least 15 to 20%. Every one of them was expecting a significant decline. It turned out for us that the total number of international students was basically flat. So the good news was we were expecting a disaster. The bad news was basically, depending on how you count a set of students, we used to count one way or another who took one credit. It was either a very, very tiny decline or no change at all. So appreciably, it was no effect. So we did well. I think part of the reason we did well is we have made diversity and inclusion one of the calling cards of this campus. And so while the national environment may be chilling increasingly to international graduate students, and from at least anecdotal reports, there's been a concerted push by Australia and Canada to attract those students who would otherwise were thinking about going to the United States to come there. We as a higher education environment, we as a particular institution need to make sure that people don't think we are hostile internationally, and then quite frankly that we proactively do more to reach out. We have some very long-standing relationships with Malaysia and several other countries which have done as well. We've got to grow those. The overall trend in the world is where's the population going? It's not in the U.S. It's not necessarily even in the West. So I think we've got to be open to it, and we've got to be proactive about doing it. It won't come just because we put up a webpage. They won't come. There's lots of choices, and in the near term, we've got to do everything we can to make sure that the word is we're welcoming, we're open. Because a lot of our success has been word of mouth, and so there was so we've held our numbers for this year. I'll emphasize we've held our numbers for this year, but as the national climate continues to move in a direction of more restrictive, more expansive immigration bans, more harder challenge. That'll be an issue.